Last time on the Cellcast,
the animated series.
There are 4 lights. Life forms. You precious little life forms.
Oh gosh, that.
You tiny little life forms. Where are you? Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Chief Miles O'Brien being the truly one of Starfleet's greatest officers.
And so...
I mean, at one point, Rutherford says he's got 10 minutes to do a 30-minute diagnostic.
Yeah.
That's a little too... cutting it a little too close.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's, the first officer stabs her in the foot.
Fighting Vendor, in the trial by combat.
Yes. In which apparently Vendor likes books.
Apparently. Him saying, I demand peaceful negotiations, while he punches somebody punches Vendor in the gut. Says, oh, so ethical.
This has nothing to do with me. It's about rules, about not following rules.
Cartoons, the animated frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission: to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again. To another episode of the Cellcast,
the animated series.
Joining me today is a man who just needs to ascend, Jacob.
Well, I keep trying. It doesn't really work. Why, thank you. I'd like to introduce our co-host, and you stole my thunder.
I stole it.
Why did he get promoted and I didn't? Welcome, Drew.
What? I didn't even catch that.
You want me to redo it?
I just want you to tell me what you said.
Okay.
I'll keep the fast version. That's funny.
Why did he get promoted and I didn't?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. How are you doing, Jacob?
Well, kind of like a movie we just recently watched, like totally tubular and just righteous, man.
Would you say bodacious?
Yeah, definitely bodacious.
All right.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Doing very righteous.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. So today we are reviewing Star Trek Lower Decks Season 1, Episode 4, Moist Vessels. Now, I realized when I was first watching this episode a couple weeks ago, I've made a small error.
Oh,
I have
really?
not been reporting on guest stars.
Oh.
And the reason I realized that is because, for the very first time, I get to say that there was a character in this movie that is our Kingdom Hearts reference.
Thump, thump, thump against the microphone.
So, O'Connor,
yeah,
the lieutenant that was wanting to ascend,
oh, okay,
was played by Haley Joel Osment, a.k.a. the biggest Kingdom Hearts reference I possibly can make. He is Sora, the main playable character in 9 of the Kingdom Hearts games.
I see dead people.
That too.
Okay.
Also grew up around lions. If you go with another movie.
Oh yeah, that's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. So now that I've corrected that error. So Moist Vessels was written by Ann Kim and was directed by Barry J. Kelly. And then I hit the wrong button. Okay, so getting into the Easter eggs and other continuity things in this.
Right.
The USS Merced is the second California class ship we've met.
Right.
The first one, of course, being the Cerritos. Sorry.
I always want to call it the Cerrito.
Yeah, but it's the Cerritos. They made up with the Merced, which you'll note, instead of having the yellow striping on it, coloring accents on it that the Cerritos has. It has blue, showing that it's actually a science vessel.
Oh, okay.
Whereas yellow means it's an ops vessel. Which is why in that first episode they make all the jokes about how we've got ops covered.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Right. The ancient generation ship that they show in there is a reference to pretty much... Well, a generation ship in general is an super old science fiction trope. You can see it in such things such as a Robert A. Heinlein novel called Orphans in the Sky, or there's actually a Doctor Who episode called The Ark in Space. Kind of based on the same deal. The idea is, because it takes so long at sublight speeds to go between planets, if you have these generation ships where people live and grow up on the ship, you can have an entire generation just on their way to wherever this colony is going.
Okay.
You remember Wall-E?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay, you remember how there was 15 captains?
Something
on that
like
ship?
that.
That's a similar kind of a thing.
Okay.
There were actually 2 Star Trek episodes that actually featured generation ships. One was an original series episode that has the longest name in the history of television, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. In that one, they didn't know they were on a They didn't know they were on a ship.
Huh.
They thought they were on the planet. And then there was a USS Voyager episode called Shattered, and where Voyager became a generation ship before time reversed. And then, there was also a Enterprise episode called E Squared, where essentially the same thing happened with Enterprise.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The terraforming emulsion, which is, in my opinion, where the name Moist Vessel came from, is very similar to the Genesis device that
that's what I thought.
We saw at the end. We saw blow up the
U.S. Reliant.
Yes, thank you. The USS Reliant at the end of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and is the planet where Spock's body soft landed in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock.
You just can't keep a good Vulcan down.
No, you can't. The captain of the other ship was a Tellarite, one of the 3 founding races of the Federation.
Really?
The others being, of course, humans of Earth and the Andorians, which are the blue people with the antennas.
Oh, okay.
The white hair.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The thing about beings of pure energy is a reference to, well, like he says in there, the Traveler, or Q. The Q are a race of beings that have, quote-unquote, evolved past the need for physical bodies, or at least reality as we understand it.
Yeah.
The most famous Q being Q from Star Trek The Next Generation, that was played by John Delancey. He would go on to have a single role in Deep Space Nine, where Sisko punched him in the face.
Good to know.
And then he showed up on Voyager, where on one episode he put another Q on trial for having the audacity to want to become a regular person, because he wanted to die.
Oh.
And the Q can't die. And then he decided that the Q's evolution had stagnated, and went and hit on Captain Janeway to see if they could make some little half-human, half-Q babies. That ended up not happening, and he and another member of the Q that happened to look like a female ended up
reproducing.
Yeah, except they did it by just touching fingers.
Oh, okay.
And then Janeway became the godmother of their child, which the first time we see him, he's already a teenager.
Scary.
In less than a year.
That's
because
just, yeah.
Apparently it doesn't take long for a physical body physical body, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then of course the Traveler is the weirdo from Next Generation who decided to take Wesley Crusher for a ride, since Wesley Crusher had apparently the ability to evolve or transcend, because he was a genius, which was stupid.
Okay.
Let's just say that. Because let's face it, who likes Wesley?
Meh.
Plus, at some point, Wesley must have left, because in Nemesis we actually see him sitting with his mother wearing a ensign's uniform.
Huh.
So we don't know what happened there.
Or it was just a cameo they wanted to throw in there.
That's what it probably was, but it still brings up a lot of, let's say, continuity issues.
Me.
We see Mariner have to remove holodeck waste. This is the first time we've even been aware there is such a thing as holodeck
that explanation
waste.
just bleh.
But pretty much this has been implied in some episodes of Star Trek, but very much more vaguer than they made here. Debating the Prime Directive seems to be something a lot of Starfleet captains end up having to do, which is why she's joking about that. The conference room chairs, the beige chair with a stripe of leather right down the middle, is probably a reference to the chair Picard had in his quarters in Next Generation. And the one with the 2 leather straps going down the sides, that's a reference to Voyager's chairs.
Okay. Then where do stools come from?
Because stools are cool.
Yeah, but they're uncomfortable. They hurt your back.
If you look at the picture that they were showing on there,
yeah,
the quote-unquote bar stools had a back on them.
Oh.
And they looked not exactly like, but they looked similar to original series' chairs.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly, but somewhat like it.
Close.
The idea that everyone folds during poker is a reference to all the poker games they had at Next Generation, where it seemed like everybody folded regularly. Very few people actually won any of those games on screen. One of the funny ones actually involves Wesley Crusher, where, well, anyway, go watch The Best of Both Worlds. It's a great episode. They met at one point when Boimler is doing that. He's gonna say, "So they like people when they misbehave." Sure, I'll go to the bridge. And he says, "Oh, nothing. That was in the holodeck. That was Moriarty." That's of course a reference to the amazing amount of times during Data's. Well, okay, I need to explain this. Data in the original series, at one point, where they were on the holodeck, and Data solved the mystery because he's read every single one of Holmes' novels.
Of course.
Because he's Data. He has that in a database somewhere. So he pointed it out in like the first 5 seconds of them being in the... Pointed out who the killer was in the first 5 seconds of the their time in the holodeck. So Geordi asked the computer to make a villain capable of defeating Data. So, of course, since they're doing a Sherlock Holmes thing, they get Moriarty and have him become aware he's a hologram. And later on have him... And he'll figure out the ability to actually control the Enterprise from the holodeck.
Well, that's never...
And in a later episode, when they, for some reason, bring him back, he makes it act like he can actually leave the holodeck, which holograms can't do. But what really is he was trapping everyone on the holodeck, and they didn't know it because he had replicated the outside of the interior decks of the Enterprise exactly, so no one knew they had left the holodeck.
That is a very...
It's a trippy episode. Of course, we've got the hit it command that Captain Freeman gives, which is reference to Pike and Discovery.
Yeah.
This is the first time they've mentioned on screen that Captain Freeman's first name is Carol. And O'Connell, as I mentioned earlier, played by Sora. He kind of has his transformation kind of is reminiscent of Decker's transformation in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, where he bonds with V'ger.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Also, when they're cleaning up everything there at the end of the episode, all the people with those weird little vacuum cleaner things are wearing the same type of visors Spock wore in the original series episode, In Truth, Is There No Beauty?
Okay.
And the Starfleet medals that we see in here are somewhat based on medals we saw in Discovery. I just realized I did not read the synopsis for this episode. In this episode, Captain Freeman seeks the ultimate payback after Mariner blatantly disrespects her in front of the crew. So yeah. So since I've been talking a whole lot, Jacob, your thoughts on this episode?
Well, this was a very interesting episode with the fact that you have Freeman and Mariner. having to work together, or the fact that I want to say Decker, but it's not right. Captain Freeman, thank you. Captain Freeman is so desperate to get rid of Mariner. Even though they are mother and daughter, it's that I'm gonna give her the worst job ever, and
she ends up enjoying the worst jobs on the ship because she likes working those jobs. She likes being a part of the crew more than being in command.
Yeah.
So she finds ways to enjoy herself.
Yeah. And then it'd be like, I'm definitely gonna make her resign or get her to transfer. I'm gonna make her. What did they make her?
A lieutenant.
They made her a lieutenant
in ops.
In ops.
She's been in essentially engineering this whole time. But now they're gonna put her in ops.
And then she has to do every.
She's been in the command thing, but they put her in ops, which is not exactly the most exciting part of the ship.
Right.
Unless you're on security.
Right.
She's not.
No. That would be interesting to see Mariner on security.
Hey, if Rutherford can handle it.
Yeah, that's true. She's very tactical.
Yeah.
And so
she does know Kirk Fu.
Yeah, she does know Kirk Fu. Then you have Sora and what's her name? I'm going to call him Sora.
You're talking about O'Connell.
And Tendi. And Tendi. Okay,
Tendi is the Orion's name.
Okay, that entire the entire ordeal of them he's trying to ascend, in air quotes, ascend, and her obsession with everyone has to like her, and I think it was for our audiences, we all have the tendency to want people to like us.
Yeah.
And sometimes we go a little overboard, and Tendi? Yeah, Tendi is the over exemplified of that.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see that, but at the same time you see, I'm going to call him Sora, because you said it, and I'm going to call him Sora.
That's how I think of the character at this point, except I've never heard Sora in the Kingdom Hearts drop the S-bomb.
No. But anyways, it's the fact he was trying to ascend. That was his gig. That was his thing. And he said I've been faking it for the last couple of years just to keep this hype train rolling. And when he finally ascends, and it's wait a minute, you entreat and you were able to ascend to an enlightenment by faking it?
That is the thing about that scene, is it comes right smack out of nowhere.
It does.
Because I'm watching it and going, that should not have made him ascend. I actually have a theory as to what that is, but we're not to my theories yet. So,
okay.
Unless you want me to go ahead and drop
it.
No,
drop your theory.
Drop it? Okay. I think secretly there's been a Q watching O'Connell. And he's been laughing at how this is all going, and it kind of got boring there for a bit.
Yeah.
And then Tendi got involved, and he's, of course, loving this, whatever this Q is. I'm assuming it's a random Q, not John Delancey.
Yeah.
And just as things are starting to get where he's now going to be boring because he's going to realize, hey, I don't need to be like that and all this stuff, he decides, well, we need to keep this train going.
Yep.
So he not only makes this guy stronger, probably making him a Q, much like Riker got turned into had Q abilities way back in season 1. He decides, we're going to make this process as painful and splashy as possible.
Somebody having a little too much fun with it.
Because that's the only reason I can think of as to why he would spout, the universe is on the back of a koala. He smiles. What does he know? And you see this visual.
It's a koala.
My question is, hey, are we seeing his point of view, or is Tendi seeing this too?
Yeah. I would think it'd probably be both.
Good night. It's Q would do that. Q would do that in a heartbeat just to screw with this guy. That's just my opinion. That's my theory on that. I have no proof. I'm hesitant to think that one of the issues I am noting with the show so far, I am hesitant to think that any of the continuity we're seeing is going to carry forward to future episodes, because I have noted with a couple of these, character growth we tend to see in an episode tends to not be reflected in the episodes that come after it.
Okay.
One big one, especially with this episode that I noted, was the first officer.
Yeah.
Who was real big in the last one. He and Mariner had some kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of going on. And when his first line in this episode is, "I'm surprised you hadn't kicked her off the ship yet." And admittedly, that could be an innocent remark.
Right.
Because he could have nothing to do with his feelings for her.
Right.
He does seem to realize his mistake very quickly, but I think that's more the fact that he said that in front of the captain and her mother, more than afraid that she's going to get kicked off. It really kind of feels like this episode should have come before the last one.
Yeah.
I have no proof of any of this.
Right.
Because none of the episodes have led into the next one with any seemingly amount of intention. I mean, in the first episode, it looked like Boimler and Mariner were going to get together. Well, that didn't appear to happen.
No.
We had Rutherford and Tindy kind of get together in the second episode. Mm-hmm. They were not together by the third, though admittedly Rutherford has not had another relationship as far as we know, and he's about as dense as a 3-ton boulder anyway. And Tindy, I kind of get the feeling she's an Orion's. Love is a wide thing, let's just say. She can love everybody.
I gotcha. Well, that makes perfectly sense. She wants everybody to like her.
From her culture, there's a reason the general term for female Orions is Orion slave girls.
Oh, okay.
They make slave Leia look modest in comparison.
Okay.
Just saying.
And I thought the limit in my water was making me perk.
And they secrete a pheromone that make men go wild. I'm assuming in order to serve on a Federation starship, she's taking something to suppress that.
Yeah, I would think so.
But we don't really know because they've never gone into it. The only other thing I thought was strange is having vacation time is not a strange thing on Star Trek. I mean, they've had shore leave before,
right?
And I can see maybe taking a couple days off to unwind, maybe go to the holodeck.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see someone like Tindy using her vacation time unwisely by trying to make this one guy like her.
Mm-hmm.
That's believable. The part that's not believable, that they let her into main engineering at all. Much less while she's on vacation.
That is true.
Because the only reason she should have to go into main engineering is to do medical duties, since she is a medical officer.
Right.
But she's off duty. She shouldn't be allowed anywhere near that. It's an authorized personnel only type of area.
Mm-hmm.
So why is she allowed in there to bug this guy while he's trying to work?
For comedy relief?
I'm aware of this. I'm saying that here's the trouble I kind of get with some of these things. This show is supposed to be in continuity with the rest of Star Trek.
Right.
And yet they do things, it's like they would never, I'm not sure they would go down this way every time. I could be wrong, and I'm sure if I went back and watched a lot of episodes of Star Trek, in fact, I saw an Enterprise episode recently where they had visiting aliens down in engineering.
Yeah. Near
the warp core. So, I mean, but those are under surveillance. This is just a random green woman who's down where she shouldn't be. So I'm kind of surprised they let her down there. Maybe it's a small enough ship, everybody knows everybody, they assume as long as you don't get in the way, what trouble are you going to cause? But at the same time, I would think it'd be off limits to any non-engineering on-duty personnel.
Okay.
That's my thought. People who are assigned to main engineering during that time period, or are reporting to them, or, the captain, because the captain can go anywhere on a ship.
Right.
It's just a weird thing I've noticed that I kind of wish was handled differently.
Okay.
And like I said, there's some weird continuity stuff going on. I'm kind of hoping, much like in that movie we were referencing earlier, the phrase that will all make sense when we get to the end.
Yes.
Is going to come true here.
Yeah, hopefully. I think another point I want to bring up is when when they're transporting the ship.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it called again?
Generation
Ship.
From when this mummified alien race that they found out floating
Yeah.
through space. That's not unusual for Star Trek.
Okay.
Finds weird derelict ships floating through space.
So when
At
the
least this one's not a planet killer.
so when you get the what I'm gonna call the orange goo, like
Yes.
it affects the first ship, and then it goes for our ship, our character's main ship, and I was like, it'd be like you're going through like all because it's a terraforming type of chemical,
Yeah.
right?
It causes whatever this chemical is. That's not been explained what it is, and we'll never find out.
Probably.
But somehow this magical terraforming juice has the ability, much like the Genesis device, to cause inorganic matter to become organic matter, even though rocks are not organic matter, but that's beside the point.
Right.
But I'm assuming there's some nano gel or something in there, some technology that they don't recognize that actually causes this when it touches something that's, not biological.
Gotcha.
Though, who's to say it doesn't do something to biological beings too that we just don't know?
Gotcha.
Maybe that's why he ascended.
That. Good point. Good point.
If it causes an evolutionary thing.
Yeah.
But that's like I said, this is all fan theory. They don't explain anything.
Right. Yeah, so when the Cerritos, when the Cerritos gets infected by this, organic goo, whatever it's called, be like it's the fact to be like you get all like plant matter, rock matter, water, what have you. I'm like, okay, just beam yourself out of there, because how in the world are you going to save this thing? But then you have the captain and Mariner, thank you, and Mariner comes up and be like, oh, this is what I need to do, because before that point they're arguing the entire time.
What I can tell, what I understood is in that opening, what's in the cold open section, she's going over her mission brief that Mariner is yawning during the middle of.
Yeah.
Apparently, when they went to the ship and looked at it and all the stuff, they were at least able to get a decent scan on it to get a general idea of what the compound physically is. That's why they were able to come up with a magical antidote that happens to not only get rid of all of the stuff it created, but apparently repair all the holes in the ship.
Yeah.
It just annoys me.
That is a little annoying because...
apparently you can't do that on the other ship.
Yeah. It's like, oh, let's just fix it. Be like, oh, it's been too infected. Be like, your ship was almost entirely the exact same infected.
Yeah,
except for like a minute or so.
One of those shots that looked exactly the same.
Yeah, except like the back half of your hull looked like it was like a blown up rainbow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, either way, that is kind of annoying because we really don't know what this substance is. I mean, like, yeah, it's obviously for terraforming.
Yeah.
But
it's obviously something that this alien race created, but apparently they couldn't use a planet near where they came from in order to do this on.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right. So in summary, I enjoyed the show, and it was entertaining. We got to know a little more about the captain and Marina, their relationship, and Boimler being Boimler.
Yeah. This wasn't his episode, so he got reduced to his cardboard cutout status of, I need to be the best and I can't be, so I'm gonna try and be the worst and see if that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't really worst timing ever, Boimler.
Yeah. But
I enjoyed the episode. It was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to it from the last preview, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. The episode 5 is looking interesting.
Yes. I don't know what it is. They have not announced what the remaining episode names are for the show as of this recording.
I gotcha.
So whatever episode 5 is going to be, we will just have to wait and see. Though the trailer looked interesting.
Yeah, it did.
Now, when we were watching this a couple seconds ago, I started giggling incessantly during the opening sequence because I realized something I hadn't noticed before.
What was that?
So, there's that shot where the Cerritos comes up on a bunch of Romulans fighting Borg cubes.
Right.
And then, of course, the Cerritos flies away because they're a bunch of little cowards.
Right.
This show takes place, 1 year after Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
3 years before, or 4 years, 4 years before the massacre of First Contact Day on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Another little event that happens around that time period is that a Romulan ship gets captured by the Borg, starts to be assimilated, and something causes that entire Borg cube to shut down.
Mm.
And is not and it does. The show eventually explains what happened. But
Yeah,
it's a mystery for that entire show, and I don't want to spoil any of that show.
So go watch Picard.
Definitely go watch Picard. It's a good show. Anyway, this one we're seeing Romulan warbirds fighting a bunch of Borg cubes. Is this kind of showing us what the kind of a foreshadowing to Picard? That perhaps it's the Cerritos' fault that the Borg cube got captured, or was able to start assimilating a Romulan ship. Maybe, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if the Cerritos was the problem there.
Yeah,
because this is the ship of weirdos.
that is true. And I thought the Enterprise was weird.
Oh, it gets much weirder. Why does he smile? What does he know? Anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode. Join us next week for episode 5. I don't know what the name of it is yet because they've not announced it, but anyway, live long and prosper, guys.
Thanks.
Come, Jacob, we must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast!
Oh, boy.
So where can they find you, Jacob?
They can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron and Jacob's Daily Art Corner, my personal art Facebook page. On Twitter at Jacob B. Heron. On Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. And on Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. Where can they find you, Drew?
You can find me on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. You can also find my Facebook page at Drew's Photo Bin, where I upload my photography. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759 and Twitter at GGeorge759. Where can they find us, Jacob?
You can also visit our website, thecellcast.podbean.com, where you will find every episode we released and links to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. Our RSS feed, if we aren't in your favorite podcast app directory, please share, review, and subscribe to us there and share us with your friends.
You will also find a link to our Facebook group, the Double Feature Podcast Community, where we talk about both animated and live-action movies. We share this with our other podcasts, which we do with Jacob's brother Jim, at the Movie of the Week podcast, where we talk about live-action movies. You can also email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. Also, please like our page on Facebook. We try to post about upcoming movies. If you comment on that movie's post before we record, we'll read your comments in the episode. And remember, every time we say The Cellcast, that is with a single L.